So now I will develop the hold down mechanism that we will be using. And if the shape would allow us to just mill this whole car from one operation, so we need to mill it from this face down, but we also need to mill it from this face down because the contour comes back in on itself. If we were only going to mill it from one face, we could just double-sided tape or use the vacuum on the shop bot possibly to hold this down. But since we're going to need to flip it over and mill it twice, we'll need to add a way to register the part during the flip operations. And the method I've chosen to show here is going to be a dowel method. And just from examining the model and thinking about it and looking at it for a bit, I've decided that milling this face first and putting 2 dowel holes that will then allow me to flip it over and mill this face onto a board that also has those matching dowel holes is the best strategy. So what I'm going to do now is draw in the intended dowel board. So I will go back to my sketches, and I can do this in the body-wide sketch, or I can create a brand new sketch. I'm going to go ahead and do it in the body-wide sketch because there's not a whole lot going on in this sketch. I'm going to go ahead and hide the constraints. So looking at it, we can make the dowel hole, we can align them with the wheels. So I will take the center point of this wheel, P on the keyboard, and pick up that line. So I'm using 1/4-inch dowels. So C on the keyboard for circle, I will draw a 1/4-inch circle, 0.25. And I can put another one at this, C on the keyboard. And I will just make it, give it an equal constraint, equal to this one. And we really don't need the rectangle to be much bigger than this body wide, but I'll go ahead and make a rectangle using, let's see, we can't use the center point. So I'll just define this rectangle to be on center of our part. And I'll give it, an approximate value of 1/2 inch all the way around. I probably could have just offset from this original square. And this will represent the board that gets cut into. So stop that sketch. And now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do an extruded cut into the bottom of our part. So E on the keyboard for extrude. And I'm going to go ahead and hide the car body. So I can select these circles. I'll show it again. And I want to cut from this bottom vertice, and I'm going to cut in 1/2 inch. That looks a little bit much. I think I can scale that back down to 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. Okay. So when we mill this surface, we're going to cut in these two small dowel holes. The next thing to do is I'm going to create the bottom surface that it's going to flip over and mate to. So for that, I don't need to see the car body. I can hide it. And I will extrude. I'm going to go ahead and extrude these circles as well. I'm going to go from an object. It'll be the bottom surface of the car. And I'm going to extrude down 1/2 inch. That's the size of the MDF that we'll be using. So now I will go back in, hide this side profile. I'm going to extrude in these extruded cut from go back and show that side profile again. And I'm going to go from that bottom vertice. I'm going to go down 0.375. I'm going to show the body, make this a cut. Make sure it's actually cutting. Looks like it didn't want to take that. Let's see here. For whatever reason, I couldn't use the sketch for that cut. So I selected the top vertice of our rectangle, 0.375. All right, there we go. So we'll have 3 milling operations now. We have, let's see if I'll show everything. Hide these sketches. You can also hide the joints. And I'm noticing that the upper plane did not sit correctly. So I need to update this extrude to be a negative 1/2 inch. We want it to be below. And let's see if the dowel holes, they did not. So we want to reselect this surface, go down 3/8. There we go. So now the final tool path we will mill it from this face, and prior to that we will cut into our setup piece these two holes, and prior to that we will cut this face with the holes in there. So it'll mill all of this out, do the holes, we flip it over, locate it on the board, and then mill this face. So next up, we will start initiating a 3D setup and the 3D toolpaths in the CAM workspace. So I'll save and stop the video here.